When a house or a factory is abandoned to human use, the weeds start to grow up. And then the insects that were there at low levels start to have more habitat. And as soon as they start to pioneer it, they open the door for the other things coming. Falcons nesting on buildings where they have the updrafts they like to fly on and where their eggs are safe. So they're kind of tailor-made for trying to reestablish in a city where our buildings are artificial cliffs. So I can tell you that when I was younger, those birds were not around. Animal control! Animal control! See, house being used to store trash, dogs go out the windows. There are people who have been using the house. Don't get cut in this house. Come on.
Good girl, come on. Good girl. Good girl, come on. Come on. Come on. Good girl, good girl. That's a good girl, come on. Good girl, good girl, good girl. Good girl, good girl. All right, all right.
This blue pit bull color type that's very popular. And he is a pretty aggressive dog. He is not kidding. He is... That dog will kill you. If they have a dog that loses in a fight, sometimes they kill it, sometimes they set him on fire. That's not uncommon. Other times they just dump it. I mean, that guy is a stray dog machine. He's pumping stray dogs out. People get killed by these street-bred ones that they dump. In this city, if a family wants a dog, even not to fight, even not to guard, they just want a dog to play with in the backyard, it's going to be a pit bull. That's their only choice. That is what they're going to get. That's the dog who attacked the child. And there are a few things that are status symbols, whether it's a car or selling drugs, but one of the things all these young men will always have is a big pit bull, because it is part of the kit, if you will, of the culture. Not pit bulls. People are dumping more of them every day. So actually, we have an increasing population of stray dogs. As I start to compile more statistics, I think actually from our capture, it probably is around 100,000 dogs.
15713 Chatham, there's 3 dogs tied in the rear of that location. They could not answer whether or not this was already vacant.
Studied snakes in the wild in Peru. But now I do this.
Fire this morning at 15713 Chatham. Give us that, get in the back.
I feel very at home in woods, even woods that I've never been in my life. I feel very at home in the jungle at night. I like it. Some people don't. So I feel at home. I'm not uneasy. I'm uneasy around people. In the woods, I'm not uneasy. I'm anxious around people. I'm not anxious. I was lucky enough to be close to a jaguar at night. The parts of nature, I hate that word, that still can hurt us, those are the really beautiful parts. Because those are the ones that give us hope, because we haven't killed them all. we haven't killed everything that can hurt us. That's cool. I really hope we never get to the point where we've killed off everything that can kill us.
Okay, let's get in place.
Hey, Brian, we're going to get over McKenzie. You take up Vinewood.
No one says, I'm from Paris, we once had the Black Plague, or I'm from Dresden, our city was firebombed, or I'm from Stalingrad, tens of thousands of people died here. Nobody celebrates that past. But that's exactly what we do here. You know, every year before Halloween, we had a thing in Detroit called Devil's Night. They would burn the abandoned houses down. Every year that the crime statistics come out, when we're not voted the most dangerous place to live, or the murder capital, or some other horrible, other horrible thing, people here are sad. We slip to number 2. We slip to number 3. We're no longer the most dangerous place on earth. What's wrong with us? And the question, and you hear this discussion, because you hear this celebration of violence here, which is, underpins everything. It underpins the music. It underpins the culture here. This obsession with violence and somehow surviving violence, and challenge and somehow surviving challenge. Now, the argument's made often that the reason that that's true is because it's the only thing people can be proud of here, that all of the other things have been taken away from them. So the only thing they're left with are these negative things to be proud of. That's the new myth. A kind of a dark world, a kind of a shadow place, a kind of a world where things happen at night, where fires are set. That's something out of Mad Max.
What's this kind of weird, thing about Detroit is that on the freeways you might encounter more people than you'd ever see walking around the neighborhoods or in downtown, and certainly a more diverse array of people. And a lot of the people taking the freeway, especially I-75, are coming from the suburbs, coming downtown to work at the Renaissance Center, or one of the many office buildings downtown. And I think in a way it's unfortunate because it kind of precipitates the perception of Detroit as an empty, decaying city, because all along the way they see abandoned homes and abandoned schools And they go home at night and watch the TV about crime in Detroit and fires in Detroit, and it really just precipitating this notion of Detroit as an abandoned place. The freeway becomes a kind of a spiritual place in that sense. It's just this world that exists unto itself. And going south on I-75, St. Josephat Church and its three towers line up just absolutely precisely, perfectly with the three towers of the Renaissance Center. And it's a reminder of the sort of battle of opposing forces in Detroit. On the one side, the industry, the corporate culture, and the idea that big steel and glass skyscrapers will fix everything, and this kind of poor, struggling church in the neighborhood. So therefore, the freeways are this kind of spiritual way. This is the sound of existence in Detroit. The constant dirge in the background of the cars swimming on the freeway, and the constant
in front of the Renaissance Center. The Renaissance Center was built in 1977, and when it was completed, it was the largest privately financed project in the history of the United States. Over $350 million of private funds were used to build the 73-story main tower with 4 40-story towers surrounding it. Henry Ford II was trying to bring a renaissance back to the city of Detroit, but it really didn't work as well as he planned. Instead of bringing lots of companies back to the city, he ended up pulling companies from other buildings in the city of Detroit and leaving them abandoned.
We're also reducing petroleum consumption with vehicles that can run on alternative fuels.
Also, it was criticized for being very fortress-like in that it did not really integrate itself into the downtown area. It was more like a city unto itself, including what is now GM World Headquarters, a 1,500-room Marriott hotel, over 70 different restaurants and shops, a movie theater, a post office, its own YMCA workout facility, and it even has its very own zip code.
Another energy-saving solution is active fuel management, allowing the engine to run on half of its cylinders when full power isn't needed. Versatile 6-speed automatic transmissions are offered on over 2 million vehicles in 2009.
There was no front entrance to the Renaissance Center. There were large heating and cooling berms which added to the fortress-like look of it and really kept out people from around the city. And people would just drive in, go to work, and drive back out and never have to interact or even feel like they were in the city of Detroit. The Renaissance Center is one of the main stops on Detroit's People Mover, which is what we call our elevated rail system. It is a very small elevated rail system that only encompasses 3.1 miles around the downtown central business district. It has 13 stops and was created in 1987 with hopes of going farther, but that were never realized.
special news alert to all Americans struggling with credit card debt. The credit card companies are now accepting reduced settlements for consumers facing hardship to reduce debts and lower payments by up to 60%. This is a government-approved and attorney-backed program brought to you by American Debt Associates.
Attention, Hydrolyze is currently seeking participants with dark circles and puffy eyes.
We'll have a loss of communities where we're going to be closing plants. People will be losing their jobs. It is the day.
Looks like it's working okay.
I fix things. Whatever the call comes. I mean, I'll get a call from somebody who says, hey, our toilet's stopped up. Or I'll get a call from a church, the organ isn't working. And, you know, I go out there and I fix it.
Okay, let's see here. Ah, it works. A bunch of different little flashing sequences here. Little chip in there that makes it do all that. Another little blinking robot. And it looks like it works okay. Yeah.
Kind of live by my own resources, so an environment like that is really something I can adapt to more readily, say, than, you know, working in the corporate world or something, which I did do for a time. I worked for a major industrial electronics company and had my good taste of the corporate world and walked away from it and just preferring to fend for myself. My reason for being interested in that type of technology is more of a creative thing, like problem solving and puzzles, but then in the corporate world it just becomes more like, okay, who's going to get ahead and who's going to get the raise and who's going to get the promotion, and, you know, that competition that happens within the ranks with people that you really would be working with. You end up kind of working against each other, each trying to get the advantage over the other. And just the fact that once a company reaches a certain size, it seems like the people who run it don't even see the people who work for them day to day, so they kind of forget about the human side of things when they decide to change things about the way the production area works, or maybe take away some of the medical benefits, or have people work longer hours. They don't feel this. They just say, oh, well, we just need to make them work 10% longer hours. It's like turning up the dial on a machine. A little hard to say, but I think it's drained down to about a quarter of the way now. Oh yeah, noticeably lighter. I was laid off because the company fell on hard times, working with the auto company even back then. It was kind of funny because I guess they expected me to be really angry about being laid off from the company after being there that long, and I laughed when they told me about it and said, oh, okay, I'm going to get to collect unemployment, have a 6-month paid vacation, and go find something better to do with my life. This sounds great. Where do I sign up? You know? And, you know, a lot of people were sorry to see me go because I was the guy who made the stuff work. And little by little, got involved in just kind of doing handyman repairs, you know, fixing stuff around houses. And, you know, it's, I don't know, I guess it's a good skill to have. It's good to have those kind of skills, and that's, especially for surviving.
So what is our promise? Our promise is to deliver what we need to do in our plan, to deliver a business that can create value so that those sacrifices are worth it, so that people have sacrificed for something that means something.
General Motors, the Detroit stalwart, once the world's largest corporation, died today. It was 100 years old. The company, founded on September 16, 1908 by William C. Durant, by the 1920s, GM creates a brand lineup: Buick, Pontiac, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, and Cadillac, aimed at different groups of buyers. But at the end of the road, bankruptcy, when all the parties involved cannot agree to leaner terms.
The king is dead. Yeah. You know, the peasants are going to storm the castle. I mean, the castles are a little different now, but yeah, that does happen. Well, the peasants learn to make for themselves, you know.
The hope for GM is that it spends a short amount of time in bankruptcy protection, getting rid of most of its debt, with a new company emerging that's smaller and produces fuel-efficient cars that Americans want to buy. Mark Carlson, The Associated Press, Detroit.